A single line, 146 kilometers long, no bends, no relief, just unbroken asphalt slicing through an ancient Australian desert. For decades, this has been called the straightest highway on Earth. But why was such a bold, relentless road built here? Behind this feat lies a story of wartime urgency, indigenous knowledge, and engineering logic taken to its extreme. What does it take to draw a perfect line across a landscape that resists straightness? And what are the hidden costs for those who travel it? To prove a road could be perfectly straight across the Nullarbor, engineers relied on old-school precision and sharp eyes. In 1941, John H. Gordon and Albert P. Miller, armed with a theodolite, set out to test just how far a line could run before the land itself forced a curve. They hauled their equipment to the Cunalda Trig Point, a lonely survey marker standing above the limestone plain. From there, Miller peered through the scope and called out. He could see the next marker almost 146 kilometers away with nothing blocking the view. This was not just guesswork. The alignment had to pass strict visibility tests with clear line of sight from end to end. The result was more than a line on a map. It was a scientific claim etched into the desert that straightness could be measured, proven, and built into the ground itself. Bulldozers rumbled onto the Nullarbor in the shadow of war, their tracks biting into limestone as crews raced to connect the continent. Commonwealth engineers, pressed by the threat of invasion, pushed for progress at a pace rarely seen in the outback. But it wasn't just machines that shaped the line. Ngaju elders walked ahead, pointing out hidden sinkholes in the safest ground. Their warnings about flash floods and soft sand kept the graders from disaster. The method was simple but relentless, a bulldozers-on-rails approach, scraping a ruler-straight path from Baladonia to Kaiguna. By 1945, a rough earth track stretched across the plain. Decades later, in September 1976, the last section of bitumen sealed the promise. What began as a wartime necessity became a permanent scar shaped by both steel and ancient knowledge. Inside Baladonia Roadhouse, John and Mary McLeod swap stories over the counter as the kettle boils for the next round of truckers. Out here, routine is everything. The day starts before sunrise, with the morning shift unloading fuel from a 12-ton tanker that has just completed the 300-kilometer haul from the nearest railhead. By midday, the kitchen is busy frying eggs for tourists and road train drivers alike. Every 2 weeks, a supply convoy arrives, bringing fresh bread, canned goods, and spare parts. Miss one delivery, and the shelves go bare fast. 3 shifts keep the lights on around the clock, with night staff watching the emergency phone and tending diesel generators. Even the smallest breakdown, an empty freezer or a delayed truck, can ripple across the entire highway. For the McLeods and their crew, keeping Baladonia running is not just a job, it is a lifeline for anyone crossing the strait. Fatigue creeps in with every endless kilometer. On the Nullarbor Strait, monotony can turn deadly. In just 2 years, 27 crashes were blamed on drivers nodding off or losing focus, most behind the wheel of heavy trucks. Rumble strips carved into the bitumen in 2016 jolt a drifting driver awake for a moment, but they cannot stop exhaustion. Rest bays, painted bright and added in 2020, offer a place to pull over, yet the lure of making time tempts many to keep going. When disaster strikes, rescue is a race against distance. In 2021, a semi rolled at high speed. The Royal Flying Doctor Service scrambled a PC-12 from Kalgoorlie. Pilots landed by moonlight, loading 2 injured truckers for the long flight to hospital. Out here, survival depends on seconds, and every straight mile multiplies the risk. Kangaroos, emus, and the rare Nullarbor stone curlew wander across the bitumen, drawn to water pooled in shallow roadside dips. Every encounter between animal and vehicle on this strait can end in disaster. The Western Australian Department of Transport logged an average of 52 wildlife collisions each year along this stretch. Most occurred in darkness, and many were fatal for both animal and driver.
To cut the toll, engineers erected a 1.2-meter steel mesh fence along 90 kilometers of the highway. Ganju elders, whose families have walked these lands for generations, met with fence designers to protect sacred waterholes and keep traditional animal corridors open. The results are measurable. There has been a 45% drop in collisions since the fence went up. Conservationists call it a lifeline for threatened species. Freight operators see fewer smashed headlights and ruined trips. But for everyone who travels the strait, the line between human safety and nature's freedom remains as sharp as ever.
Tourism Western Australia pitched the Strait as a destination in its own right, rolling out the Explore the Nullarbor, Drive the 90-Mile Strait campaign in 2015. Roadside billboards and glossy brochures promised travelers the thrill of crossing the world's longest Ruler Strait stretch. The Nullarbor Links golf course, with its far-flung holes scattered along the highway, drew adventurers eager to tee off in the middle of nowhere, over 1,000 paid rounds each year by official counts. Meanwhile, engineers eyed the future. In 2022, a full-depth polymer overlay was poured across the bitumen, built to outlast heat waves and freight surges. This year, autonomous vehicle testers mapped the line with LiDAR, hoping to prove that self-driving trucks can handle the monotony better than any human. Policy writers drafted white papers proposing dual carriageways and renewable energy corridors, weighing economic windfalls against the cost of pushing technology deeper into the desert. Competing visions for tourism, freight, and automation now run side by side, each betting on the Strait to carry them further. Every year, thousands cross this endless line, testing focus, patience, and limits. As roads get smarter, one question remains: how do we balance progress with the wild, empty spaces we traverse?